also for giving us the opportunity to present the data space for smart and sustainable cities and communities, data space projects. Well, I'm actually stepping in for Sophie Meschers, who is the actual project manager from the side of OASC. I'm leading the coordination team, but I'm also the executive director of OASC, so I'm also involved in a lot of the related projects, such as the ADIC on local digital twins and local digital twin cascading call and so on. Just to give you a short overview of what we are working on. So we're working in a consortium currently with the partners that you can see on top of the screen, and I see that most of them are also represented in this call. The journey started, as for most of the priority data spaces, in October 2022 with the establishment of a project that created a blueprint for the data space for smart and sustainable cities and communities. Then moving also towards a roadmap to deploy, a capacity building program, and the creation of a community. And the second part of the double diamond that you see on the screen is the part that we are currently working on, the deployment of this data space to validate this blueprint through pilots in cities, with cities, and eventually to move towards a finalized blueprint, a knowledge hub, and a federated data space on smart communities. That should be the end result, and also an important asset to be maintained in the future by the ADIC local digital twins towards the Cityverse. So we're a little over halfway of this journey. Our project is ending in December 2026. We're currently also in a conversation with the ADIC that started this year to take over the assets that will be delivered. So a couple of words on the blueprint, but I'm not going to go into detail because you're, of course, all aware of the blueprinting of data spaces. There's a non-technical part, a technical part that was delivered. In the non-technical part, the most important aspect here is the multi-stakeholder data governance scheme, focusing on the different layers of the non-technical elements on business, legal, and organizational. And also a data cooperation was developed there. The technical blueprint contains a catalog of data space building block specifications, a reference architecture model, and a cookbook. And based on those elements, also a roadmap to deploy a data space in the context of smart communities was developed and delivered. And of course, we also provided the capacity building instruments in order to make use of this. So the tools that were developed under the project, there are three blocks. One is a data cooperation canvas, and I'll show you in the next slide what it looks like. To an online training hub that was also made available, and then a cheat sheet, more of a technical nature, that contains a checklist for the deployment and also covers the different elements that are in the blueprint itself. The data cooperation canvas is an interesting instrument that we're also using very intensively with our pilots at the moment. It offers an at a glance overview actually of all the components that need to be in place. It was developed together with the city of Amsterdam, also in the framework of Living in EU. Before the blueprinting phase started, there was also already work being done on this data cooperation canvas, and it evolved throughout the project. And it's also available on our website and a specific website, datacooperation-canvas.eu. The inventory that I mentioned is available on the website through an interactive portal. So inventory.ds4SSCC.eu is the place to go to consult what we collected. And this is what this data cooperation canvas looks like. It's actually also a requirement that we used for the open calls for every applicant to fill out. so that you can actually see on one page what we are requiring and what elements are already in place in the different contexts of the pilot partners in order to set up their data space. Next to that, we immediately also started in the blueprinting phase with the stakeholder forum. At this point, we have over 450 individuals that are a member of the stakeholder forum. And this forum is all about networking, it's about peer learning, also dissemination of information and giving the status of the different results in the project, and also about the pilots. We also organize workshops with them, and of course there's a lot of presenting in every direction going on in this stakeholder forum. We make the distinction in objectives between the project itself, the deployment projects, and of course also the pilots. The objectives of the deployment project is in the first place refining the data space blueprint, but also working towards a federated data space for smart communities. And three, it also creates, of course, an European innovation ecosystem with cities and communities, but also with their stakeholders, which provides a very interesting platform working also on other elements of innovation related to digital transformation. The pilot objectives, they are required to join the federated data space for smart communities. To deploy the local smart communities data space, and also they are requested to join this innovation ecosystem. On the technical level, in order to move towards a European data space for smart communities, a lot of work needs to be done in order to connect the local, regional, or even national data spaces that are piloted in the different cross-sectorial and cross-border pilots. And we're working hard on that. And there's also, of course, as you know, a very strong relation with the Simple project that we are currently in discussion with in order to provide also the middleware, the technical infrastructure through a pilot to federate the data space. A couple of words on the pilots, and we will hear about some of them a little bit later. We have 11 pilots. The open calls are closed, so this is the final set of pilots that we are working with. You can see the list here. I'm not going to go through them, but in total there are 29 European cities and communities that are involved in those pilots, and they come from a wide range of countries. There's a lot of Spanish partners working on the pilots, but you can see there's quite a good diversity also in terms of member states. Of course, next to the cities, also companies that are working with the cities and the communities in those pilots that are involved and part of the pilot consortia. On the domains, the data space for smart communities is, as we like to say, a transversal data space. So that means that by definition, we are working cross-sectorial. So you can see that there's a combination of different domains, but mainly, or a lot of them are working on mobility. Many of them are working on challenges related to weather, climate, energy, and also zero pollution. And then there's a category of other new European Bauhaus initiatives related domains here. I'll leave it there. It's just a short overview of the project, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the short but very specific explanation. And now let's go back to Dolores for learning a bit more about DEPLOYTOUR. Please, Dolores.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen, and you let me know if you can see it. I'm going to put it now in presentation mode. Can you see it?
Yeah, but not in presentation mode.
Yes.
No.
No, it's okay.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So just to explain a little bit the project. So Carl Philip, thank you so much for your presentation. The project has started now. So we are now we're finalizing the 6 months of implementation. So we are in a very early stage. So the project, I think it's quite similar in terms of budget, in terms of the number of partners. So we are 43 organizations for 13 countries, 3 years project, around 15.3 million euros. So for the objectives, it's very similar. So we want to develop this trust and secure common European tourism data space. What it's important here is to ensure that data flows in all the tourism ecosystem, but also in our case with other sectors that will contribute directly to strengthen the EU digital sovereignty. We are with these discussions on this definition or establishment of this federation of data spaces with a common governance, and this is something in which we are working now. And at the end, we want to boost this sustainability and resilience, competitiveness of the tourism ecosystem, with a special emphasis in the SMEs, which are 95% of the business ecosystem in the tourism sector. We have here some context. There are a lot of layers which are important to be taken into account. For tourism, it's especially important because we are seeing that tourism data spaces are happening at private level, but also in the public administration at national level, regional level. So it's important to understand what's happening there and which are the possibilities that all those actors, which are quite complex and there are with variety of different actors interacting in the tourism space, can at the end work together, and this data sharing can be produced within this framework of the data spaces. We have started to define the technical infrastructure. Indeed, we have submitted the first deliverables of the project related to the technical architecture and also related to the needs and requirements. So we have done this exercise to identify which are the data products offerings that are going to be implemented at the level of each pilot. We haven't had an open call for identifying new cities. So we had the pilots already included from the definition of the project in our structure. So we have these 5 use case pilots that I will explain a little bit later on. We are working a lot in this governance framework, and we have submitted, we are going to submit at the end of this month the first deliverable related to governance. We have been working a lot in defining these roles and rules that are going to be the base of the rulebook and rulebook to ensure also this interoperability, transversality, and synergies with other data spaces and tourism initiatives. And of course, we have to work in the dissemination communication strategies. So you have the roadmap there, and we are in this moment in which we have been working in the rulebook, and after the summer we will start with the launch of the use cases. We are now in this moment of this high-level roadmap with these requirement gatherings. We have already defined the data products offerings, and we are checking which are the data sources that we are going to use at the level of the pilots. We are working in defining the data models and the architect design. We are not within the simple life, but we are taking a look on the developments of the different components of in the implementation of the project. So we are also working in defining the different components. The governance is very important. So we have been working quite a lot with different mini workshops internally in the consortium, also to understand which are all the roles or rules, which are the different layers in terms of any aspect related to governance has been taken into account. And what is important also in our data space is this transversality, complementarity, and synergy. That's why we are today in this webinar, because we want to generate these links with any initiative that is working with data spaces that can be linked with the tourism data space. As mentioned, we have already 5 pilots defined within the grant agreement. We have set a very good geographical coverage, also tackling different challenges that the destinations have and different typologies of tourism. We have one use case which is tackling the cross-border challenges of the destinations in order to ensure also this resilience and competitiveness. We have one in which we have this corridor, the Canary Island, Andalusia, and the Balearic Islands, in which we are working with mature destinations in order to help them also to tailor better data-driven services to enhance sustainability and resilience. We have one related with the mice industry in the zone of the area of Ile-de-France. We have one that is very related to leveraging cultural heritage that is located in Greece. And then we have another one in the north of Europe, in Lapland, in which we are working very hard to empower SMEs and to help them to better manage data and to make better use of the digital technologies. We are trying to publish all the information that is public and other information that is useful for the ecosystem in our website. So we invite to follow us in the newsletter and the website. And this is everything from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dolores. Thank you for your presentation. So now we all know that both data spaces have pilots, and now it's time to know a little bit more about some of them. Here with us is Thomas Lanisek, the Development and Smart City Manager from the city of Kran. He will present us the pilot named UrbanMind. So Thomas, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you hear me. I'm sharing just a couple of slides with you, maybe just for, seeing is believing, as we say. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And hello from the Slovenia, from the sunny Slovenia. It was a pleasure to be a part of the first pilot together with the second consortium with Porto, Amsterdam and Helsinki. So we started our pilot in the beginning of November last year. So a lot of things are going on already. A lot of things are developed so far. Just a question, do you see the slides or not? Just to check it.
Yes, perfectly.
You do, perfect. So the city of Kran is the 2023 Eden Winner announcement city, so the European destination of excellence. So this is I would say, the direct link towards the tourism part of the project that we just heard of. But overall, the important part for us was actually to have as being a very adapted and upgraded city on the development of the digital transformation. We wanted to really have that predictive traffic management statistics possible on a live basis. So sustainability and mobility planning needs to be in place if you want to have great, I would say, the tourist destination cities under the control. And then the second thing is, of course, data services related to weather, climate, extreme weather events, and so on. Because being a tourist somewhere, it's very good to have the data at hand. Slovenia is a very safe city, but safe country, but sometimes we have some floods and some unexpected events there. So in this respect, some planning in the area of the tourism is very important. The motivation to step into these data spaces for us was very important because data swamp or Pametna Mlaka, emerging data space that was identified by the European Commission 3 years ago, was a great motivation to upgrade the whole data space and smart platform of the city of Kran. And the overall takeaway was definitely this micro-location based environmental monitoring and the predicted traffic analytics in both cities, so Kran and Pula, because we chose the city of Pula, that is a very touristy city in Croatia, of the pretty much the same size, so 60,000 people. And in this respect, we have our own really direct motivation to actually have, like it was very well disseminated by Karel Filip, to have the shared data that are possible to get in different kind of APIs, platforms, apps. And since we don't have a lot of time, I'm not going to go into details, but already a lot of the infrastructure and architecture was done already. What we do actually now, the implementation of the sensoring, putting them on our really nice, I would say, traffic buses fleet, because we have electrical buses for the whole city transport in Kran. So when you have the buses that are not polluting directly, then you can actually have those sensoring that are actually pushing the data on every 200 meters and 10 different kind of data about the environment, about the quality of air. In this respect, we cover pretty much the whole city. So it's very important, and this is the greatest, I would say, value added of the OASC movement and about these data spaces is the usage of the MIMS, so-called minimum interoperability mechanisms. In our project with 2 cities, we are very much focused on those 5, despite the fact that we, of course, touch one way or another all of 10 of them. But the context of the information management, personal data management, which is pretty much about the trust from the people about the data, and of course then the fair and transparent artificial intelligence that we actually also take it into account, alongside with a very important thing, which is of security management, of course. Where data go, what is the takeaway of that, who's going to have the big brother effect, right? Does the mayor know everything about all the tourists and everybody there? No, of course not, but it's this anonymized data. This is a very important thing. So in a nutshell, 3 important elements: social, economical, and technical. In this respect, whatever it's not measured cannot be managed. And in this respect, we want to have this data available in as live as possible, and then really to have the informed decision making on everything. Just a bit of the timeline. We are now half a year through. The first reporting is up to be, of course, handed in. But the most important thing is now, when we are just in the phase of purchasing of the sensoring, then the majority of the work is going to be visible from September on, because we'll have a bunch of data on the open space, and then the whole magic of the number crunching can be done. Last but not least, just to know, so there's 2 cities, city of Kran and city of Pula, together with the 3FS company that is actually the brain behind everything, and RICO, a project company. And this is actually the future, I mean, the picture from yesterday of the project team meeting in person in the city of Pula. So if somebody tells me that these kind of projects are not full of tourism, they are too. So it's you know, the pleasure with the value-added things together. That's about in the nutshell. But of course, very open to the questions about the project, which is actually quite well also pointed out on the Data Spaces website, on our website, and on the OASC websites. A lot of fun within the project for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good presentation and very nice picture, by the way. Lovely place.
Yep.
So, yeah. So this was one of the pilot from the Smart Cities and Communities data space, and now it's time to know one of the pilots of the DEPLOYTOUR. So I think it's my namesake, Olga. Can you present the pilot number 1 regarding sustainable tourism management in the Alpine regions? So please, Olga.
Yes. Now you also say me if you see the slides.
Yes,
All
perfect.
good.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah. We are also pilot number 1 of this project, and we cooperate also with Slovenia. We had somehow contact from the previous project already from dates, and so we decided to cooperate also in this one. And we had some framework conditions, so we decided this should be about Alpine region, about sustainability. And as we have a common border, it's also a cross-border case where we try to show the cross-border impact and combine the data from Slovenia and Austria. And we also tried to go a little bit beyond visitor management, and there are lots of projects in this area in Austria. We also added the ecological component, and we developed a model that calculates digital sustainability for tours in protected alpine areas. So what we are doing, actually, I also saw Vesna in the call. The focus of Slovenia is on developing a B2B model or tool, and our focus is on developing a B2C tool. But as a national tourism office, we cannot develop an app for end customers. So we develop a B2B2C solution. So we will come up with a model that can be accessed via an API by different app providers, like, for example, Outdoor Active that you probably know, or some destination management organizations who offer an own app. And this model will be trained with historical data, so we can hopefully have a look into how many visitors visited certain tracks, what was the impact of the nature on biodiversity, what was the weather like, and then on this basis also predict what or calculate the score for each tour. Like, for example, you select a tour, and I will tell you the sustainability score is 7, but you select another one, the sustainability score is higher, so you'd better go to this region because there are less visitors and the trekking condition is better. So what we plan to do, a kind of dynamic sustainability scoring, because also the biodiversity indicators, they change over time, not hourly, but we can track it over weeks, or we can track it also by using satellite data. We will provide also a score, or we will be able to guide end users, which was our purpose, and offer eco-friendly alternatives. It will also allow dynamic monitoring for destination management organizations, and also to compare the conditions of different tours between different countries. And we will also include some visitor information, like, for example, that you don't wear flip-flops when you are undertaking a tour in some Alpine country, which is now missing, by the way. And the data sources that we are still planning to integrate, so we have just started. In fact, we spent some 6 months negotiating with our Corinthian partners about the use case until we found the proper one. So now we are looking into what data sources will be accessible. So we have, of course, tourism data, the data about tours and points of interest or events in the Alpine areas. We will use mobility data because we want to assess the number of visitors, and we plan to use for Austria the data of mobile operators, but also probably some parking occupancy or some railway data, just to know the number of visitors in the area. We also have a good access to satellite data and contacts to, for example, University of Natural Sciences in Austria to have to integrate biodiversity data. And this will be a very new thing, integrated this data with tourism data in Europe. And we also have good data on user preferences. So in the end, we can offer alternatives and also guide users. And so the plan of the project is to have, first of all, environmental impact and improve sustainability in the area. Also to have some technical impact, so that the DMOs or other SMEs that do not have access to some technical information or to artificial intelligence can just connect to the model and use a model. And of course, also some kind of societal impact or impact on communities, because we want to guide the visitors in the end. So that's from my side.
Thank you. I like your final slide, questions. Now it's time for questions. So if you would like to ask a question, or not a question, simply make a comment or an observation, please raise your hand.
May I start and ask a question
Sure.
to previous pilot, because I'm very impressed with the budget. I saw the number of 3 million and wanted to ask who finances the project.
I can jump in on Carl Philipp. I don't know. I mean, out of 3 million, half of that is ours, so the local budgets, and half of that is based on what we were able to achieve when we applied for the great tender made by OASC. Maybe that was not pointed out so directly from Carl Philipp, so maybe Carl Philipp can also jump in, but we took a pleasure to actually apply. The highest number was 3 million gross. And of course, in the Slovenian nature of, cyclists and sportsmen, we go for the gold, right? So we go for 3 million. And it was not just, to take the money that was on the table, but it was really the fact that we would do this project one way or another. If we would not get the co-funding by the OASC, namely the European Union, then we would do it anyway, also by ourselves. But it's a very handy thing when you get half of the budget and co-financed, and then you can use this second half of the budget for other toys, I would say, other things. So this is the name of the game for the city of Kran, because we are namely a very small city. So in this respect, we are able to be very, I would say, technologically savvy and digitally advanced. And in this respect, we then finance also other things. But yeah, it was based on the tender that was there. And we were successful in the first round, which was really the name of the game for us too. But maybe Carl Philip, a few of the takeaway points on that, about the 3 rounds and who's there and so on.
Okay, yes.
But thanks for the question, Olga.
Yes, I wasn't very clear about that, about the setup of the project. It is actually a cascading grant project. So in total, we have 18.5 million euros available for the project, of which the majority goes to open calls. It's cascading grants with open calls. So the coordination is done by the consortium, but then around 15 million euros is made available for the pilots. And we worked in 3 rounds of open calls, aiming for in total 10 to 12 city pilots. The top budgets that could be submitted for subsidizing is 1.5 million euros. It's a Digital Europe program project, so that means 50% co-funding has to be provided. So 1.5, maximum 3 million euros per pilot is the maximum budget. City of Kranj and Pula submitted for the maximum amount. There are other pilots that were more conservative and maybe a little bit less ambitious. But in total, I think we did spend almost the full 15 million euros to the pilots, or we will spend that because it's not fully paid yet, of course.
And it's maybe just to add, it's investment. It's not spending, for sure, a great investment. And from our side, I have to say, I mean, we have a, as a competitive as you can be, we always say, go big or go home. But the really handy point with this call is also that, and thank you for that, Karel Philip, with the team, that half of that 1.5 million was actually available in advance. So it's something that you don't kill local budgeting. I mean, the cash flow, and in this respect, we were able to really go fully for the project, and everybody's happy, even the finance director of the or finance guys within the organizations, because we are not eating up something in advance, but it's actually that you get it upfront, and in this respect, it can be really implemented fastly. But of course, first of all, maybe just to add up, a lot of trainings that we are very thankful for that. So a lot of good insights and a lot of inventory that was also pointed out by Karel Philip. So if you don't know some things, you look it up there, and it's a lot of things available. You are part of the history in the making, let's put it this, or future in the making. So with these memes, this is also a great thing to be a part of. And then also for the mayors, it's also important because they also know that we are on the right track, and it's being part of this kind of projects. This means also that a lot of the takeaways from here can be implemented in other societies or in other cities, smaller or bigger ones. So great experience so far.
Okay, thank you. Flavio, please, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. So maybe just to add, Tomasz started this topic, so it's not only about the cascading finance that the project is providing to the pilots, but there are a lot of support activities. So the core team of the project, it's not only coordinating, let's say, the administrative part of giving out these grants, but we also have a lot of onboarding, support activities. We have really a very structured training program for basically they're targeting all parts of the blueprint. So we have a series of trainings about governance, about business models, about technical implementation. It's a bit of a mix of, let's say, ex-cathedra lectures, but also very hands-on workshops where pilots can come with their own challenges, and then we solve them together. Then we have a mentoring process as well. So each pilot gets a mentor that follows them, helps them, and acts as a it's a connecting point between the pilots and the core of the projects, shall we say. So there's a lot of collaboration with the pilots in addition to this pure granting process.
And you get to know a lot of great and smart people like Karel Philippe, like Flavio, like Sophie, like Sile, and the others. So this is definitely the biggest value added in these kind of activities.
Okay, very interesting. By the way, Thomas, you've mentioned the existence of sensors, sorry, and a large amount of data. And I'm curious, how are those data protected?
That's actually also the question from the information officer of the Republic of Slovenia. You know, when they got along with this kind of activities, oh, where is the information officer here, right? So we were already standing there, and we had to explain some of the stuff there, which is again a beauty of this kind of projects, because we are not alone in these projects. It's a European project, and it's the same name of the game like it is, I don't know, in other countries. Well, first of all, if you don't have everything protected, then you can just forget about it, because it's going to be either legally, pursued, or on the other hand, people will not share the data. But especially in the downtown of the cities, so Kranj and Pula, we actually have these cameras that are actually they're being installed in these couple of weeks, I would say. But they are actually having, they are following the contours of people, of vehicles, of bicycles, and so on. So it's very important that you share with people that it's not like this Big Brother effect, that we are now supervising the movement of the people, because we want really, and this is one part of the project, that everything happens on edge. So whatever it's happening on cameras. So the whole software is on the cameras, and whatever a camera is transmitting to the open space, it's actually zeros and ones, so data. And why we do it, we want to have it also clear to the people. So we will most likely also publish or bring the QR codes when people will be able to scan the QR code, and then they will see what kind of data are flowing. Are the video streams? Are the photos there? Or is it really the data with 0 and 1? So in this respect, we are chasing the number of people within the downtown because of the tourist purposes, because of the administration unit purposes, because today you cannot get any, let's say, anyway, I mean, in the past it was possible, but today you can't get a permission for the concert in the downtown if you don't know how many people will come, because in this respect, of course, it's going to be very clear how many security guys, policemen, I don't know, firefighters you need to have this as a precautionary area. And it's based on the previous concerts, events, and so on. And it's not just, you write down a number that you just make up, but it needs to be pretty much clear how you got that number. So in this respect, it's important that you have this edge computing on the cameras, getting the data into the data space. It needs to be anonymized by all means. And in this respect, then also the security behind everything is there. And of course, it has to be on the cameras that sometimes they're not made in China and all these kind of things. So it's important with what kind of solutions you have. And we like this kind of a project because we are using local knowledge, local companies, and also the cameras that need to be actually, sensors or cameras that are made in EU. In this respect, we will use sensors for the buses that are quite sophisticated. They are made in Croatia, and the cameras as such, they are not a big thing, because they has to be as stupid cameras as possible. But then the know-how, the software is implemented by the 3FS company, which is a company from Slovenia, from Kranj, and they actually are very well known in the smart city management of, let's say, Barcelona, Singapore, Montreal. So if it's good for these big cities, then for sure this is going to be really nice also for Kranj and Pula. And they like to have these kind of projects also in Kranj, because they are happy to share something, that the knowledge that is there also in the hometown.
Okay, thank you. Dolores, you want to say something?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for all the explanation. So I think it's very interesting to see how the cities are working in data spaces. And then you mentioned something very important, which is the data is also interesting for tourism, because you were speaking about the routes, the number of people, and this kind of decisions that that now in tourism we are facing all these challenges on how to better manage tourism flow, how to avoid massification, how to be in contact with the tourists in order to recommend them to go to other places that are there are no such a huge concentration of people, just to enjoy better the tourism experience, to also to generate these balances between resident and tourist. And you and Carl Philippe have mentioned this fact of training, which we have to start now. So we as I mentioned in the presentation, we will start with the implementation of the pilots only in September. So because we are in a earlier stage in implementation of the project, but we have also defined some training, capacity building services to our pilots. And I think here that perhaps we can generate a kind of a change to learn from you, from lessons learned, but also from the material that you have already produced, perhaps also to get some tips directly, perhaps, I don't know, from Thomas, directly speaking from, we have Bojin also as a member of our consortia, or perhaps with people from the consortium in general, just to explain how this management of the data space at the level of the city and this data that you are gathering that could be useful also for tourism can flow in a way that both the city and the tourism can take better decisions. So I see this as something very, very interesting. I don't know, how do you see it? But
I mean, I will maybe jump in the beginning, but then for sure, Carl Philippe, I know, Flavio, Sile, Sophie can explain more. The fact is that from the city perspective, and I'm coming from business, I'm helping our mayor to actually implement these kind of things also in this, I would say, business profound manner. For us, it needs to be, and it's pretty much the same in tourism, that you need to have this customer centricity. So in this respect, either citizen or tourist in the center of everything. If you have the apps and all kind of possible info around the tourist or a citizen, then it will be a very big value added, and then you will win. Because if you do something just for the sake of, I don't know, having really not invested now, but spending the money that you got from European Union, that is not going to fly on the long run. And in this respect, whatever we do, we need to do it for the end user. And as long as this is a value added for him, her, then it's a winner. Now, of course, when we go into this kind of new areas, when you are not so, I would say, good at yet, or if it's a new thing, then these kind of projects, like we are in the data spaces, it helps a lot. And here, this training process was superb. I mean, we were really exposed to some knowledge that, of course, you can Google it up, but in this kind of, I would say, coherent manner, it was really well done. Okay, we are the first round, so I believe also OASC was learning by doing to some extent, and probably the round number 2 and the 3 are even better off. But again, I was telling to our team members also, this is the future in the making. So bear together, and if there is something that needs to be upgraded, it will be, and we are looking forward to these upgrades that are there. So maybe Carl Philippe, you can tell more, but this blueprint on one hand, and then the training sessions that were there, and believe me, I mean, it was first month and a half of training sessions that we thought that it's only we're doing that, no other business, but it was good, to be hit into the wall in the beginning, and then it was easier to implement these kind of things throughout the 18 months, because 18 months is like a year and a half. It's like a long period, but it's not, in 2 weeks time, you think you are almost at the end, right? So it's really, you need to be pushy and really down to earth, right?
Thanks for your kind words, Thomas. But indeed, it is a shared journey. We are going on this journey together, and we're learning on every side. And I will give the floor also to Flavio to talk more about the training. But what I want to say is also in the collaboration between the two data spaces. As I mentioned in the presentation, we see the smart communities data space as a transversal data space, actually, because a lot of things happen in places. And they're by definition cross-sectoral. So tourism data and the availability of tourism data has a very big impact on many other things and policy domains in cities. So tourism data should enable better decision-making on mobility, on infrastructure, and so on. So this means that the collaboration between our two data spaces should be very, very intensive, because it's two sides of two coins that we are working on. So to make that point further, I hope that this webinar is only the start of a very intensive collaboration. And to us also, one of the keywords is interoperability. And then you've heard Thomas also mention in his presentation, but also in his interventions, the MIMS. For us, the MIMS are a way of ensuring a minimal degree of interoperability. And MIMS are not something that we invent from the side of OASC, but is actually the description of how interoperability should work, data interoperability should work in specific topics in order to ensure that we can talk to each other about data, and we can actually make use of data in different contexts. So that's what I wanted to put on the table here, and also to provide some views on further collaboration. But Flavio, you can give more information on the availability of the training and the journey that we did there.
Flavio? You are muted, Flavio.
Okay, here I am. So maybe what are our lessons learned? So we have, as Tomasz said, the first, I think, 2 months. They're very intensive in this interaction with pilots. So we have every second week, they have a meeting with a mentor. And the other second week, they have a lot of training. So during these mentor meetings, we collect some quick feedback from trainings, but they also get a lot of, let's say, homeworks. Yeah, so they have to fill in the data cooperation canvas, the self-assessment survey, pilot profile, and so on. Sorry, I have to open the door just a second.
Well, I think this it's quite obvious that this webinar has been too short, right? Because time has flown away and we have thousands of things to talk about.
Maybe if I can just one last second about the trainings. So the thing is that what we learned with these 3 rounds is that for the second and for the third round, we will provide also an in-person training. So we will have a 2 days boot camp where all the pilots will come, and we will have 2 very intensive days of trainings, because from the feedback we had, there was this need from pilots to have more these interactions, also networking, not just the online training. So this is maybe one of the main outcomes that we had from the first round.
Okay, thank you. Eric, please.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm not sure if this is the right occasion to mention this, but if I may, we were invited into participation in a consortium addressing the current ongoing Digital Europe call on AI or Gen AI for public administrations. And the deadline is 2nd of September, and it means we have to react pretty quickly to come up with which use cases and which international collaborations we want to go into. So I don't know if anybody else is working on that. It would be interesting. I think given the time, that's why I raised my hand and just raised the question. If anybody else is into this or would like to go into it, or if there's another way we could follow up.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you can write your email in the chat.
I did.
For those who can be interested.
It's there, yes, and it's a hot topic indeed.
Yeah, great. So we have
okay, so
yep. Thanks.
We only have 3 minutes, so Dolores, do you have 3 minutes to close this this short and interesting webinar?
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you to the Data Space for Smart Cities and Communities. Thank you, Oa, Sophie, Carl Philippe, and especially Thomas. I learned a lot from your pilot, and of course, our partners from DEPLOYTOUR, seeing Olga and Martin here presenting the pilot. As Olga is mentioning, it has been quite short, and also I read now some interesting comments, so especially from Sile. I think we can learn a lot from you. I think it's very interesting to generate this kind of webinars and to see what the other data spaces are doing and how can also we can learn from the learning that you have, also the material that you have produced, and how can we apply a part of the development that you have from the smart city point of view to the tourism data space. And really, I hope that we will continue to be in touch for the coming months in order to continue improving this part of collaboration and also to enhance the interoperability, which I think it could be very, very important in order to ensure that all this data that is being produced is going to be useful for the cities, but also for the tourism ecosystem. Only to tell you that the next webinar is going to be with the data space for mobility with Deploy MDS. Is going to be on the 4th September. We will keep you updated. We will send you the invites. It will be published also in our website. Thank you so much for your contributions and enjoy the weekend. Thank you. Bye.